And I remember on his visit, Breiden came here to get coached. And on his visit, obviously Pete and I spent a lot of time with him. And I walked into the weight room, and he had a 120-pound dumbbell. And he was curling it for sets of 20. I said, well, if I sign his boy better play, I'll tell you.
Hey, that's my dad. That's my dad. That's my dad. Yeah, they gave my daddy more TV time than me.
Happy Friday. Welcome to the Fehoko Show. My name is Breiden Fehoko, and boy, oh boy, am I excited to be here for you guys today. We have a jam-packed show. First and foremost, like, share, subscribe. You guys have done an awesome job. Up until this point, Wednesday's show was the highest viewed show up until today. So a round of applause for you guys, man. You guys are making this dream become a reality, man. We've surpassed views. We've surpassed content. We went viral on socials. And, we don't do it for the clicks. We don't do it for the likes, but it helps, right? It helps to get the show out there. And you guys have done a great job of that. So round of applause for the show and everybody that's involved. Shout out to my man, Bailey Price on the ones and twos, the best producer in the game right now. He has done a phenomenal job of handling things behind the scene. Shout out to BP himself. He's doing a great job. Tonight's show, we got Tony Farmer backstage who's going to come out. We're going to talk about Deion Sanders and some of the legal issues he's going through. We're also going to talk about the electrical substation with the 49ers and all the soft tissue injuries they occurred. Maybe get into a little Kyle Shanahan theories, and we're going to wrap that thing up with Tony talking about the Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel scandal that went around and kind of disappeared for a bit, but shout out to my man Tony because he kept his foot on the gas. Tony's a wholesome truth teller, and we'll get into that. Up first, we're going to talk about Joey Porter and his extension talks. We're going to get into everything under the sun today for you guys. It is a jam-packed show, and I promise you guys, Breiden Fehoko is here to deliver. Up first, our food menu item of the day. Don't be surprised by it. We have no other than a Polynesian staple, horse. I love horse meat. I had it today for lunch. As you can see here on the picture, we slow cook it. And a lot of you guys are going to be surprised. You're going to be like, holy crap, Breiden Fehoko is eating horse. Yes, I eat horse, and I love to eat horse. It is a Tongan protein. We use it as fuel. It is a delicacy in the islands. If you have not tried horse meat, do not judge me. Okay, that is where I get my strength from. That is why I bench 500 pounds. That is why I squat 750 pounds. That is why I power clean 350 pounds. Horse meat is one of the most tenderizing. It is a polarizing. It is a mesmerizing. It is a fantasizing type of meat that you want to put in your mouth. Yeah, I just said it is a type of meat you want to put in your mouth. In the Polynesian culture, horse is used for special occasions, weddings, funerals, graduations, celebrations. But hey, I came across some people out here where I live at that were selling it, Polynesian people, of course. And I said, you know what? Let me get some horse meat. So if you know somebody who can, it's actually, I don't know if it's illegal or legal. I don't want to I'm not a law officer, so I can't really, put my thumb on that. But if you can get your hands on some horse meat, I promise you it's one of the best things. So anyways, this is how you make it. They slow cook it. They chop up some onions. They put a whole bunch of mayonnaise inside. If you've been around Polynesians, all Polynesians love to do is drench their shit in mayo. Like, for me, I love mayonnaise. I could go into my fridge right now, open up a jar of mayonnaise, take a spoonful and eat it. That's just how much I love mayonnaise. Yeah, you could call me disgusting, but I just love it. I put mayonnaise in everything. I put it on my rice. I put it on my ramen noodles. I put it on my steak. I put it on my hot dogs, and I put it on horse. And so obviously today I had my horse with some hot rice. But like I said, man, please don't judge a book by its cover. If you can, go out there and get some horse. It's the best meat you're going to put in your mouth. All right, Bailey, get that off screen. Top news of the hour. Joey Porter and the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's been some reports that multiple teams around the NFL have wondered about Joey as a potential trade target, per sources. If you guys didn't know, Joey Porter Jr. is in the final year of his rookie contract. And with where the cornerback market is, teams have wondered if Pittsburgh could ultimately be open to a move with the Pro Bowl caliber corner. Now, let me say this as openly as possible. I've talked to very trusty sources on the Steelers that are involved with this situation. One, no team has inquired about trading for Joey Porter. So the Steelers have not received any calls. So all the reports you've seen about teams are acquired, nobody has called the Steelers yet, and the Steelers have not made Joey Porter available for trade. So just get that out of your head. Whoever's reported it, whoever said any of that, the initial reports, that is a total lie. That is straight from me. There has been no teams that have contacted the Pittsburgh Steelers about Joey Porter or trading for him. However, could Joey Porter become available within the next year? In my opinion, I think yes. And here's why. The Steelers have already spent so much money on their defense. They've already allocated $40 million a year to TJ Watt. Cam Hayward's another guy who makes close to $18, $19 million a year. Alex Highsmith is another $18, $19 million per year player. They've allocated one of the highest free agency contracts to Patrick Queen as a middle linebacker. Not only that, they have also paid a lot of money into future investments. One being Nick Herbig, two being Keanu Benton. They've drafted Derek Harmon in the first round. And so you kind of have to ask yourself, right, how is the trend going for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense? To me, I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to pay Joey Porter. From what I have heard from reliable resources within that organization, with everything that's been going on, the Steelers and Joey Porter are nowhere near close a number right now. Yes, you've heard that from me. The market for Joey, let's just put it at this, and I won't give you the number Joey wants, but Joey should get no less than $30 million because that is the cornerback market right now. And I'm not going to say top tier, but every cornerback one that belongs to a football team in the NFL is going to demand no less than $30 million. And so the Steelers and Joey Porter are nowhere near the least amount that Joey should be receiving a year at $30 million. So that picture you can get into your head right now. They are nowhere near talks. In my opinion, I think they're going to ride out the year, and I think going into next year, Joey Porter could be a franchise tag option and repeating it so forth. For me, when I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers with the way Mike McCarthy is and the way they're trending, they extended Nick Herbig this year. They extended Keanu Benton. They extended Darnell Washington. 3 of the original draft class members in Joey Porter's draft class that they extended, which, if you look at their contracts, they were a little under market value. Yes, they paid them lucratively long-term. Nick Herbig's contract was $100 million. Keanu Benton's, I believe, was 72, around that area-ish. Please don't quote me on that. I don't have it off the top of my head. And Darnell Washington got a little under market value for a tight end. But that is telling me that, yes, Pittsburgh wants to invest in their future long-term with those draft picks from that draft class. However, they do want them at a hometown discount. And for me right now, I'm telling you, Joey Porter does not want a hometown discount. From where they treated his father on his way out of Pittsburgh, Joey wants it back in blood. Joey wants to get what he deserves. And I think personally, Joey Porter is worth over $30 million as a cornerback. And you could say, well, he doesn't have the picks. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. Well, Joey Porter's a cornerback one. If you take Joey Porter off the Pittsburgh Steelers roster and the Pittsburgh Steelers go out and play the Cincinnati Bengals, there's nobody on that roster, in my opinion, who can go toe-to-toe with Jamar Chase for a whole game. Now, I do like certain corners on that roster. I love Asante Samuel. But Asante, Joey, 2 different type of corners. They play 2 different type of ball games. To me, Joey's value goes up every time a new DB gets a deal. When you look at Devon Witherspoon, we talked about him on Wednesday. He just signed for $30+ million a year. Christian Gonzalez is in the talks of his contract with New England. When he signs, he will reset the market. Look at me when I tell you this. Christian Gonzalez is going to reset the market. Then in a year from now, Patrick Surtain, Derek Stingley, those guys are going to want to re-up because they're the top of the line in the cornerback market. So I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers and I'm saying, hey, Pittsburgh, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? Because you could pay Joey Porter $31.5 million a year now. But if you wait a year from now or 2 years from now, not 2 years, let's just say a year from now, that number in the cornerback market is going to be so inflated by the time everything goes up. By the time Joey Porter actually gets a deal done, if if Pittsburgh holds on and waits for too long, instead of paying him 31, you're going to look at just like Jamar Chase, like Cincinnati did. Cincinnati wanted to wait for Jamar Chase. Hey, Jamar, we don't want to pay you yet. Okay, what did he do? He made him pay. Now they had to pay Jamar Chase an extra $10 million, reset the market, which I'm happy they did. And I'm pretty sure Cincinnati was like, yeah, we'll do it in a heartbeat. But these are the dumb things, owners, front office, they just, we want to see how things play out. And you could save so much money. That $10 million you could allocate to extra resources the very next year if you want to get quality players in free agencies. So that's the whole scoop on Joey Porter right now. The Joey Porter Jr.'s camp and Pittsburgh Steelers front office, they're just not close. They're not close to a number that Joey wants, and Pittsburgh won't cave in to anything. And it's just crazy because, to me, top-tier corners, you pay them. They're just like edge rushers, right? Especially with a corner like that. And I get it. The counter-argument might be, hey, Joey Porter is very handsy. He led the league, I believe, in pass interference is called. But, hey, screw it. Pay the guy his money. Because he's tall, he's lengthy, he's fast, he covers wide receiver ones. You don't have to worry about that. But that's the scoop on Joey Porter Jr. Hey, up next, he's in the back studio right now. Let me give you a little introduction about this guy. I like to call him the NFL Pablo Torre. I've been a huge fan of Tony Farmer for a time now. We've been following each other on socials. He's been a close, very reliable source in terms of if I ever need information, if I ever want to get the scoop on what's going on. Tony does his research. He is a guy that doesn't miss. He's gotten a lot of slander for being the guy that's very consistent. And in rightful cases, he should be. And that is exactly what he does. I applaud Tony just for the guy that speaks up. Everybody in social media, everybody in the media in general, when it comes to the NFL, they like to tiptoe around certain topics because of their friendships, because of their relationships. I'm a huge fan of this guy, and that's why I wanted him on the show. I wanted him on the show because, hey, the Fehoko show, all I want to do is talk about the truth. I want it to be unfiltered. I want you guys to know what's going on. I don't want to beat around the bush. I don't like people who bullshit. I love people who give me 100%. But ladies and gentlemen, the Pablo Torre of the NFL, well-respected 49ers affiliated media member, Tony Farmer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Tony.
Hey, good to be here, man. I appreciate the warm welcome. I find myself so often agreeing with you, so it feels good to kind of be having a real conversation with you, man.
Tony, let's start off with this. There's been a lot of heat around Deion Sanders. I got the cowboy hat on, tipping my cap to Deion today. If you don't know, saddle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. But he's been expected to be subpoenaed to testify in Shiloh's upcoming bankruptcy trial. A deputy failed last week to serve Deion with court papers, and now Deion Sanders' attorney filed a motion to quash a subpoena to testify at his son's bankruptcy trial, noting it conflicted with Colorado's first game. Just talk to me, Tony, about this whole situation. And obviously there was new lawsuit info that came out today, but where do we go from here with Deion?
So I would actually like to start with the day before they attempted to serve him. There was an email that was sent out by Colorado to members of the media, and I was the first person to leak this email. And it basically said, if you record anything at practice, they use the word anything, so not just football stuff, anything at practice, you can have your credentials revoked. So Colorado, the day before Deion was served, or the day before they attempted to serve Deion with this sheriff, they told members of the media that they could have their credentials revoked. And they even used the line in the email that was something like, if you're not sure if something can be reported or not, don't report it. And fans were actually having their phones, Breiden, confiscated. So reporters couldn't use their phones. They couldn't even use a notepad. So this happened the day before. So my first question is, did Colorado know that a sheriff was going to be looking for Deion the next day? So that's the first thing. I had sources telling me that the reason for that email, now this is before the sheriff showed up. I reported this. I said the reason for this email coming out is not football related. And everybody came after me and like, oh, well, you don't have sources, blah, 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 this and that, this and that. Sure enough, the very next day, we have this sheriff attempt to serve Deion. So my question is, how were they not able to successfully serve Deion? Because if you read what the press is saying, the press is saying that he was unavailable during practice. It's really easy to find a head coach during practice, and we know for a fact that they showed up in that practice window. So I assume they were able to see Deion, Were they intimidated to approach Deion because of who he is? Did someone step in? My sources are telling me that the Colorado staff was not cooperative. Colorado comes out and tells the press, we were very cooperative. We got in touch with his lawyer. Deion was unavailable. So that's the first part of this, is like the question of, was Colorado aware that this is coming? And is that why the email came out? Because wouldn't it be a bit of a PR nightmare if there were 16 different reporters from 16 different angles showing a sheriff approaching Deion and handing him the papers and getting Deion's reaction on video and all that? So I think that's a good place to start, is with that email, because even if the sheriff hadn't shown up, that's just kind of a weird, super strict, almost unprecedented practice to have that take place. So I thought that was a good place to start.
You know, with the whole Deion situation, and not even this whole legal situation that's been going on about the subpoena, even about the whole logo situation with Prime, right, that he's going on right now. But Deion, for a long time, Tony, and you know this, Deion has been able to control the narrative the media has put out. He's worked in the media. You'd be a fool to think Deion doesn't have say of what goes on, what's posted about him, what's not posted about him. There's a clip of him telling a media member back when he was at Jackson, I think, and he was talking to him. He's like, hey, don't ask that question like that. Ask it again. And you're talking to a grown man like this, right? And it's all relative, because I look at the whole Shador situation in Cleveland, and a lot of people said this. They said, you know, because Deion went up there to meet with Todd Monken, and I got in some spaces, I got inside some media talk, and people were like, man, Deion told everybody that they didn't have a lick talk about football. I said, bullshit. You shit me. You think Deion didn't go up there to Cleveland to meet with Todd Monken, and you thought they probably talked about the Bible? Shitting me. You know what I'm saying? And so he's been able to create this narrative for so long, right? Shelter things, put things to the side here. I think it's catching up with him. I had my first run-in with Deion when I was in high school, and I've never told this story to anyone before. So I'm a senior in high school. I'm playing in the Under Armour All-American game in Orlando, Florida, and Deion was involved with that game. And I've been a fan of Deion up to this point, right? Prime time. I just remember Deion doing the dance, skipping into the end zone. Like, man, it was prime time. Like, who wasn't a fan of Deion? I had his sneakers growing up. I was a Deion Sanders fan. What really pissed me off, and what really turned me on Deion Sanders, and what really made me think that this guy's a fucking scumbag, Tony, was I was a 17-year-old kid in Orlando, Florida. I remember Deion walked by. We were in the players' lounge for the Under Armour All-American game. And I remember Deion walking by, and I'm a young kid from Hawaii. I just left the Rock. I go up to Deion, and he's got his whole entourage with him, just like how Deion rolls now. I go up, I said, man, Deion, I'm a big fan of you. He's just looking at me right now. He's like, I'm a big fan of you. Man, I would love to get a picture. I would love some advice, man. Like, what are some things I can do to be successful? He looks at me in this very tone. He says, hey, man, move along. Just like that. Then I'm like looking at him, and I'm just like, whoa. Like, my boy next to me is Fred Uluperi. Fred Uluperi was a hell of a player from Hawaii. You probably won't know this name, but he went on to play at UCLA. Fred, if you're watching this, Fred can confirm exactly what happened. He was there that night right next to me. So I look at Deion, I ask for him. He's like, hey, man, move along. And I'm like, whoa, what
Good
the
impression,
fuck?
by the way. You kind of sound like him. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, Tony. I don't like you doing this about me, but we're gonna get this fixed. So, anyways, his entourage or his security guards at the time, they're like, yeah, hey, big dog, move out the way. So they just kind of moved me and Fred Uluperi out the way. And ever since that moment, I haven't held a grudge against Deion, but I just looked at him differently. Whenever I see Deion post in the media, all these Bible quotes, all these talk about doing good, I look at him, I'm like, Deion, you're a fucking scumbag. I don't respect you. I know what type of human being you are. And yeah, you probably think you've changed, but to a young 17-year-old who had aspirations and wanted to accomplish what you've accomplished and looked at you like an icon as a role model, and for you to do that, that will be my forever image of you. And I could give a fuck what happens to you, but in relation to this whole thing, Tony, that's just what I think. I think it's caught up with him. I think he's been able to just shelter things so long, and now it's all fault upon him. And like we see all the time, you can only do what you do in the dark. Eventually it comes to the light. So it's a crazy situation. It's none of my business, but at the end of the day, now it's everybody's business because it has been everybody's business. And for Colorado to kind of hide it in the way they've done, Tony, that's nasty work, right? Especially when it comes to legal purposes, and to issue that letter to the media, hey, no notepads or you can't record. Like, what are we doing? Like, really, what are we doing? Because if you're saying that, and I just saw a video that went viral of a woman's strength coach trying to give everybody a motivational speech, like, what type of narrative are we trying to build on Colorado, Tony? It's insane, bro.
Man, that story you told is interesting because it's not as if he was in the middle of dinner and you went up to him in a restaurant.
No,
right?
No.
He had to know going there that he was going to be interacting with college students, and he was going to be interacting with people that would want to hear from him and interact with him. So that's kind of what makes that story. Like I said, if this was in the middle of a movie theater or of a restaurant, it would be a little more understandable. Sometimes you catch people at a bad time, but that's rough, man. Sorry you had to experience that.
No, and I am over it. Like, hey, what happened in the past happened in the past. But to me, like, you know how it is, Tony. Once your perception is perceived by someone, especially in person,
sure,
that is how I'm going to perceive you until you help me change that perception.
Right.
Mike Vrabel. I've never met Mike Vrabel, right? But all I know about Mike Vrabel is what I've seen with him in the Diana Rossini scandal. And we'll get into that later. But he's also facing another lawsuit about his logo and the whole Prime thing. Yeah. Can you expand more on that?
Yeah, for sure. So this has actually been public, believe it or not, for months, going back to 2025, but nobody knew it was public. It's never been reported on. It's been sitting in court databases, and no reporter has found it until I unearthed this today. And so basically what it is there's a man named Alan Tipp, who's a graphic designer from Omaha, Nebraska. Mm-hmm. He initiated a professional relationship with Deion, and he designed 2 different logos for him. And they had an agreement. And that agreement, by the way, everything that I say is from the court documents, and this is only one side of the story. So this is not Deion's side of the story. I think that's important to say. Mm-hmm. But Mr. Tipp's perspective is that Deion initiated the relationship. They had some expectations like, hey, you can use my logo as long as there's some attribution. You don't own this logo, but you can use it. So Deion, of course, used it in many, many different ways. And what this court document talks about is how at one point this logo was used on sunglasses, and those sunglasses sold $5 million in 3 days. So Deion was apparently making money off of this logo. And at one point they signed an agreement, and that agreement that Mr. Tipp apparently now regrets I'm just going to read this to you word for word. This was this agreement that he signed. It was that Tipp would be an integral part of Sanders' marketing and branding team. These are all things that, according to Tipp, never ended up happening. He would also be able to educate the student athletes at the University of Colorado Boulder's football program on how to grow, protect, and market their own brands, and work with the athletic and merchandising departments on the integration of Sanders' brand. By the way, I'm curious if Colorado knew about this contract. Very curious.
100%, Tony. 100% they had to know.
Number 3, that Tipp would work with Nike in the design and development of Sanders branded apparel and footwear. And 4, that Tipp would be retained to design, brand, and develop a marketing plan for the line of sunglasses that I told you about before. And the next line in this document says, each of these statements, those 4 that I just read to you, that were made at the time, Sanders knew them to be false at the time. So this guy's basically saying, I was tricked into signing this agreement and signing my rights away. They promised me this never happened, and they knew that they were lying to me at the time. So that's sort of the crux of this. But Deion's kind of getting hit with all angles now, because the subpoena issue that you and I started this show talking about with the sheriffs approaching him is completely separate from this issue right now. So he's kind of getting hit from all angles. I mean, this is someone who is also, recovering from a cancer diagnosis as well. So Deion's got a lot going on in addition to trying to coach this football team. And that first subpoena that you talked about rubs up against Colorado's football schedule. So there's a lot going on in the Sanders family right now.
Well, you know what? Whatever's going on, it's I hope whatever they can come to a solution for it, they can figure it out. I want to get into something that's kind of taking the waves and taking everything by storm. Tony, electrical substation, whether people want to believe it or not, I mean, they have a whole X account for it, and the substation sends out threats. You know, they're letting people know. But on a real note, Tony,
Yeah.
you sent me some videos on the research, and I thought that was amazing. But I'm speaking from an athlete perspective, right? And when I think about the electrical substation, I think about when players are hurt. I think about this. Whenever I get hurt soft tissue wise, they send me to the training room. They send me to rehab. They send me to a doctor's facility, whatever. And whether it's a stem machine, electromagnetic wave machine that sends, radio wave technology throughout your body to help stimulate those muscles, regenerate muscle tissues, heal it up, scar it up. That was my initial thought process on, okay, this is how electromagnetic wave, pulses, currents, whatever the terminology is used in controlled environments to help athletes heal. When I think about the electrical substation, I'm like, okay, they just have this pretty much uncontrollable, like they can't control the amount of electric currents that just is produced by this substation. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, hey, if all these athletes are going to rehab, are going to treatment, and are using controlled electromagnetic waves and radio frequencies to heal themselves, how much damage can something that is uncontrollable do to the body? And when you look at the San Francisco 49ers injuries, and I know John Lynch came out last year, was like, yeah, we kind of did some study. I think that's bullshit. I think he's just trying to let everybody like kind of, hey, no, that's not, like, we don't want to show that we're into, subliminal messages and rabbit hole theories. But I think, Tony, and I have this really strong theory that this substation is causing a lot of their injuries. Most of their injuries, Tony, have been soft tissue. You know what I mean? And so, like, I'm just looking at them like, you can't prove me otherwise. They're next to this huge, pretty much electro field that is, look at it. It's like, it's in the back over there just looking at you like, all right, whose hamstring am I coming for next?
Here's the thing, man. I don't have my mind made up on this issue. I'm not going to say today I'm 100% sure the electrical substation is causing injuries, or I'm 100% sure it's not. I lean a little bit more to what you're saying, that it probably is. What I really take exception with is the folks out there who are closed-minded, and they're just like, no, that's BS, conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat stuff, there's nothing to it. And they're just so closed-minded to it. And I want to give you a couple examples just throughout human history. I grew up in Connecticut. There's a town in Connecticut called Lyme, Connecticut. And that's what Lyme disease is named after, because that's where Lyme disease started. Shit. And when Lyme disease first came up, there was a woman named Polly Murray, P-O-L-L-Y, Polly Murray, and she was documenting all of her neighbors getting sick. She wasn't a doctor. She wasn't a scientist. She was just taking notes. And she was going to the CDC. She was going to, the National Institute of Health. She was going to the local, Connecticut government agency and saying, something's wrong here in my neighborhood. All my people are getting sick. And she was laughed at. It literally took 10 years, Breiden, for her to cut through all of the dogma and the we know better than you, shut up, lady, you don't know what you're talking about sort of attitude. And that's just one of many examples. We can talk about cigarettes, right? And how cigarettes were originally, they used doctors in advertisements for cigarette companies. We were told that cigarettes are actually good for you because they coat your throat and can protect you from getting a cold, right? And then it took a while, and eventually we're like, oh, the tobacco companies bought the research and we've been lied to. So I'm just saying, throughout history, there are documented examples of non-scientists and non-doctors proving doctors and scientists wrong. And with this situation, there's a perception that it's science on one side and conspiracy theorists on the other side. But no, there are actually doctors and scientists who are also concerned about this issue as well. Grant Cohn, 49ers beat writer, did a great interview. I wish I could remember her name, but with a molecular biologist from maybe Harvard, one of the Ivy League schools. It's an hour-long interview, and she went into detail about how and why it affects soft tissue injuries and what they can do to help prevent it, etc. And the last thing I'll say before I turn it back over to you is, the 49ers said that they did this research. You notice they never told you who the scientist was?
No.
Because then reporters could follow up and they could ask follow-up questions. But instead, they're just like, we looked into it and they said that it's completely fine. And the last thing, did you know this? Did you know that Jed York, I found the city council documents that show this. Jed York is the chair of a company, and the name of it is escaping me right now, that's been pushing for 5G production in the Bay Area. 5G also produces EMFs, just like the electrical substation. So for Jed York, owner of the 49ers, to admit that the substation is causing his players harm, he would also then have to look in the mirror and admit that he
Is
and
the
his
reason why.
organization might be causing harm to the community by pushing this stuff out there as well. So there's a little bit of conflict of interest.
My
Not to
goodness.
mention PG&E. PG&E does not own that substation, but they make other substations, and the 49ers have a huge corporate sponsorship with PG&E. So if they were to come out and say that the substation is causing harm, they're going to piss off their large corporate sponsor as well.
Yeah, I wasn't buying it when John Lynch last year came out and was like, "Hey, we did a study," and I'm just like, bro, like
we did science, man. We did science.
You ain't bullshitting me, John. Like if you know what I'm saying, like I've known for so long. This is a reason why you see all these NFL players now wearing wired headphones because they don't trust the radio frequencies and Bluetooth and they feel like it does something to you. So if you see these players not wearing headphones, what do you think that these radio frequencies of these demonic towers just looking at the San Francisco 49ers just like, hey, I'm coming for your hamstring. I want to tear your Achilles next. Like, and I hope that never happens to anybody, right? Like, knock on wood. I hope they're safe. I hope their players are fully healthy. But holy moly, can we at least put some trees in front of that like substation or
something? Had trees. George Kittle said the trees died. The trees turned brown. The ones that were by the substation. Yeah.
What are we? So you're telling me they had living organisms in front of this substation, Tony, and they died.
Yes. That's exactly.
And you know what's crazy about that, Tony? I didn't know that. You know what's crazy is the NFL pays millions to these groundskeepers a year to upkeep the grass they have, the soil, the sod, everything. So how the heck are these trees dying if you pay millions to groundskeepers that control everything around, whether it's the landscaping, the soil, agriculture, all that, and they've died?
Now, do I know where the trees were, like if they were on the 49ers property or on the substation property? I don't know those details, but that is what George Kittle said. The trees by the substation were turning brown. It's unbelievable.
You just put a living organism in front of it and it died, and you can't, and that kind of much, that sealed it for me. And they, I don't know, they got to get out of Santa Clara, but I don't know where else they'd go. All right, Tony, speaking of electrical, I think I have another theory on this.
Okay.
I think the electrical substation messed with Kyle Shanahan's Tesla. I think it maybe reprogrammed his Tesla in auto drive mode, and I don't know. Maybe Kyle Shanahan could pin this thing on electrical substation. I don't know. It was fishy, Tony. It was fishy. Talk to me about this Kyle Shanahan shit. It's crazy. It's not being talked about.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Let's first start with how we learned about this. So we learned about this about 13 days after the incident happened, and the 49ers tweeted about it. And then Breiden, 1 minute later, Adam Schefter tweets about it with a whole bunch of details that you couldn't possibly write in a minute. In other words, Adam Schefter had to have known that the 49ers were going to tweet it. Now let's go back. Adam Schefter is a family friend of Kyle Shanahan's. Adam Schefter literally wrote the book on Mike Shanahan. He literally wrote a book about the guy. So Adam and Kyle are tight. We know this for a fact. That's been confirmed by Chris Sims, who's also tight with Kyle. I don't know if you knew that they got matching initials on their bodies. You know that they got tattoos?
Don't.
They don't. Bro, I swear to God, fact check me. People in the chat, Breiden is busy right now. He can't fact check it. People in the chat, Google Kyle Shanahan, Chris Sims tattoo. I posted it to my Twitter. People's minds were blown.
Don't, Tony.
I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. Absolutely. I wouldn't lie to you, man. So anyways, getting back to this. The rollout of the information was incredibly odd and bizarre. Like, think about it, another player or coach that it's taken this long for the information to come out. So then when we finally do get the information, I pull up the records that say the victim was 21 years old. I pull up the accident log. I'm the first to report a lot of this information. And then Grant Cohn comes out and reports that the database says the woman is at fault, the 21-year-old woman. So, Kyle's not at fault. And it's kind of matching what the news reports are. And the news reports are that, no citations were written. It kind of seemed like an accident, this harmless thing, right? Well, after that report comes out, Kyle calls all the beat writers into his office in Santa Clara and takes responsibility at that point. And what I think happened is that people like myself and Grant and others were shining so much light on this that it was apparent to the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan that he wasn't going to be able to get away with this. So he kind of fessed up at that point because there were so much people looking at it. That's what I think happened.
Tony, sorry for cutting you off. Do you remember what I commented when you had posted it? And I said, Tony, if it wasn't for local media and just the public finding out about Matt Miller being a scam artist, I said, Kyle Shanahan would have never, in my opinion, he would have went to the grave with this 100%.
Yeah.
Because the cops covered for him for 2 weeks before it went public.
Yep.
And so I think the whole Matt Miller incident was like a whole wake-up call, not just to coaches, but to the media. And hey, these people that have a platform, these people that aren't even involved in NFL media, they're educated. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. They will go, and if they feel like something is fishy, they will go get to the bottom of it. And I commented that on your post. I said,
yeah, I remember that now.
This whole thing with Kyle Shanahan, I think is very relevant. I think he really got a wake-up call because he saw the whole kickback that Matt Miller got when people just started digging. One person dug, the next person brought a shovel, and then all of a sudden it was like, hey, this guy's been scamming people for 5-6 years. And then he raised off a $56,000 GoFundMe that he caused an accident for, veered over a double solid line on a one-way road.
Like got an AG investigation, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Legal consequences because of that information on the internet coming to light. I think you're absolutely right. I think Kyle saw that coming. But the interesting thing about this is when the 49ers beat writers were in Kyle's office, Kyle said to them, I don't know why Palo Alto PD would say on this government database that she was at fault. That's not what my accident report says. Kyle's now on the record and saying that his accident report says he's at fault. 49ers beat writers say, oh, can we see the accident report? Jeremy Jones, head of security for the 49ers, steps in and says, no, you guys cannot see that. The reason given was because they don't want to give away the identity of the other driver. Breiden, you can redact that very easily. Grab a Sharpie out of the desk real quick and cross her name off. So this document is so important, Breiden. I've requested it from Palo Alto PD. They have denied the request. I've cited the law about why they need to release it. They've cited their own set of law why they don't need to release it. So this is going to be an ongoing thing. This could be released in the middle of the 49ers season and hurt their season. But the other thing I want to say here, did you see Emmanuel Acho talking about this subject on his podcast? Because this is huge. Did you hear what he said?
No, I did not.
Buckle up. And I want to get your perspective as a former NFL player. Emmanuel Acho says he won't tell us the team, but he's only played for 3. So it was either the Browns, Eagles, or Giants. He says he's on his way to practice. He rear-ended somebody. He called the head of security for his team. And the head of security said, send the cop away. I'm going to send you a new cop. And that cop is going to say it's the other person's fault. He said this on his
You're
podcast.
lying.
I swear to God, bro. LaShawn McCoy sitting right next to him, doesn't blink. Hushmanzada was on his podcast, and he's like, oh, shit, and LaShawn McCoy doesn't blink. So it makes me think it might have been the Eagles, by the way. But we'll get into that later. But he's telling us that the head of security for his NFL team is a fixer. And not just, oh, we'll get a cop to look into this tomorrow. He was able to instantly send somebody to that scene. So this is very important, not only because how many laws were broken, insurance fraud, et cetera, right? Not only because they got him out of trouble, which I'm sure happens all the time, but it was pinned on an innocent person who's probably had higher insurance rates for the last 12 years and has no idea. So this story about Emmanuel Acho, I think, is incredibly relevant to the Kyle Shanahan story because Emmanuel Acho is telling us my head of security blamed this incident on somebody else. Now we've got government databases originally saying this 21-year-old woman is at fault until Grant, myself, and others start digging around. And like, oh, no, that was just a clerical error. No, so we need to get, in my opinion, we have to get either the body cam footage or the accident report, both of which they will not release right now. And by the way, I'll go on another soapbox.
You're good.
Palo Alto PD has a history of cover-ups. And I'm using the word cover-up. It's not my word. It's the independent auditor's word. The independent auditors who work with the police said there was a cover-up involving a man who was assaulted in his garage by a police officer. Okay. There was another incident where a man in his own backyard was bit by a police dog. He did nothing wrong. They had the wrong guy. He was taking a nap in his backyard. Police dog comes and bites him. Palo Alto PD was supposed to release that footage and didn't. There was another incident of Palo Alto PD encrypting their radio. So in other words, like if I'm a reporter in a newsroom and you got the scanners going on, oh, there's been an accident around the corner, blah, 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 blah. They didn't want people to hear that. And so every time Palo Alto PD tries to break the law, in my opinion, break the law, they lose, but it takes some time, which is why I think eventually they are going to have to release this footage and release this accident report, and it may come out at a really bad time for the 49ers.
My goodness. That's crazy. I got a story for another day, but I remember we were rookies, my rookie year 2020 in LA, and we always used to drive up to SoFi. And if you don't know, SoFi is in the middle of Inglewood. It's in the middle of buttfuck Inglewood. It's ghetto. You got to go through back roads. It is so ghetto. So somebody does a hit and run on Justin Herbert, and as he's going to the game, somebody hits him,
Like his
drives
car or
off his car
his
while
car,
he's
okay.
driving.
Wow.
He doesn't get to see it, but he comes to the game. Now, this is how crazy it is. He didn't see it. There was no cameras on the lights. If you've ever been to California, Hawthorne, Inglewood, they don't have street cameras. By the time the game was done, our security team in LA knew and found the driver of the car. So and to your point, Tony, these security teams, they can make shit appear and disappear at the snap of a finger. And I've seen it happen firsthand. Before you get out of here, Tony, I want your closing thoughts. You and I have been vocal about this situation, about the whole Diana Rossini, Mike Vrabel scandal. I know it's kind of died down, right? But interesting enough, Mike Tomlin spoke about it, right, on his debut at the Hall of Fame game, and he said something that I think is very true. Mike Tomlin said, you don't win games, it's going to start getting a little dicey, right? Winning games covers up a lot. And you and I both know, Tony, that's the truth. If Mike Vrabel wins the Super Bowl last year, I don't think none of this surfaces, in my opinion. And so what's your closing thoughts on this situation? Where does it go from here? Where does Mike Vrabel and the Patriots go? Do we ever see Diana Rossini in the media? What's going on?
Man, when this story first came out, 3 days after the Sedona photos came out, I said to people, this story is not a tabloid bedroom issue. It's not about an alleged affair. It's about tampering. It's about Coach of the Year voter, Diana Rossini, who, by the way, Mike Vrabel won Coach of the Year. There are aspects of this story that are completely taboo. Breiden, did you know that if you go and look up the Associated Press article when they wrote about Rossini resigning, they never mention in their own article that she was one of their AP voters. As a journalist, I know that that's odd. That's strange. That's not normal behavior.
There's no credibility there.
That's not good. That's like if I write a story as a journalist about somebody robbing a bank and it happens to be my cousin and I don't disclose to the audience that I know that person, that's a big problem. That's what the Associated Press did. The Associated Press sets guidelines. Every journalism student has an AP guideline. They set guidelines on how journalists are supposed to act, and they didn't disclose that, which is very odd. But anyways, the AP thing is huge for me, man, because nobody wants to talk about it. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, is the only like credible large network that'll talk about it. And you guys can test me on this. Google ESPN's coverage of Diana Rossini all throughout the summer since April. They never once mentioned the Coach of the Year angle, and I think it's one of the most fascinating aspects of it. I found her 2024 ballot that is public, and her assistant Coach of the Year ballot is really suspect because Ben Johnson got 29 first-place votes that year.
Yeah, she gave him last place or something like that, right?
She didn't even put him in her top 5. And Ben Johnson and Liam Cohen were both competing with Mike Vrabel in that same job search. So that is really suspect. But anyways, back to your question about kind of where does, Mike go from here and Diana go from here? I think she'll probably eventually land on her feet. We've heard, Dave Portnoy from Barstool say that he would hire Diana Rossini. I wouldn't be surprised to see her in that sort of a role. But really the next shoe to drop is this Athletic report, which is way overdue. Way overdue. I talked to a reporter with the Kansas City Chiefs who had a colleague at The Athletic, and that colleague at The Athletic was told that this was going to be coming out months ago. So Remember, the New York Times did that article. They kind of previewed it coming out. They talked about there was this article that this guy Zach at the Athletic wrote, and Diana kind of brokered this agreement between Zach and Mike Vrabel, and the Athletic's looking into it. And we just haven't heard anything since. So the first question is this article ever going to come out? Or was there maybe some sort of an NDA signed, some sort of agreement between Diana and the Athletic? Do you know what I learned today from Mike Florio? He wrote an article saying that the NFL is essentially attempting to buy the Athletic right now. Think about that. Think about that. The NFL already owns 10% of the ESPN, and now the Athletic is doing this investigation, which can cause incredible harm to the NFL if it contains what I think it might contain. And the NFL is just going to try to buy the Athletic. Is that a coincidence? Maybe, but it looks pretty suspect if you ask me. Now, going back to Mike Vrabel real quick. I think he's going to come out of this clean because I think Mike Vrabel is protected. But you are a player in the NFL. You know all about the personal conduct policy. And the head coaches need to abide by that personal conduct policy as well. And there's a line in it that says you can't undermine the integrity of the league. So I would just ask fans out there to consider everything that we know that Mike Vrabel did do, being this close with Diana Rossini, lying about being that close with Diana Rossini by calling it laughable, the whole Coach of the Year voter angle. By the way, I'm curious if Mike Vrabel got any extra money in his contract for winning Coach of the Year, just like players have incentives. Josh Allen got $1.5 million for winning MVP. Is it that hard to believe that maybe Mike got another milli for winning Coach of the Year? Just something to consider out there. Did you know this, Breiden? You got me fired up on this topic now. Did you know that Diana Rossini admits on video to lying to Josh Allen about her MVP vote?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
We're going to find that.
I posted the video of that on my page, and she says, because in 2024, the AP votes were released, and she didn't know that they were going to be released. It was a shock to all the voters. They were all surprised. And she told Josh Allen and Brandon Beane, she said, I'm voting for Josh Allen for MVP. And then the votes were released, and she voted for Lamar Jackson. And in her words, she said she lied to them, and she's on video saying that she lied to them. So this is the kind of stuff that interests me. I find it fascinating, but nobody's talking about it. They just want to say, Tony, this is a private issue. Stop talking about this. This is none of your business. You're being nosy. I'm like, I don't care about the bedroom stuff, whether that happened or not. I want to talk about Coach of the Year. I want to talk about tampering. There's so many different tentacles to this story.
Well, Tony, man, we appreciate you. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. We got to get you back on here as a normal for the show, man. This was good. It was great. I love truth tellers, man. Until next time, Tony, please tell the fans and everybody, the viewers, where they can follow you, man, on socials, and give yourself a shout real quick.
Yeah, for sure. So Tony's Market Tips on X. And for any fans out there who like NFL survivor pools, me and my co-host Jason Anik, he's the twin brother of John Anik from UFC fame. He and I do a podcast called Last Men Standing, where we focus on the largest NFL survivor pool in the world. It's $1,000 entries, and you can win up to $20 million guaranteed in it. So we're freaks about NFL survivor pools. We love talking about that at Last Men Pod. Thanks so much for having me, man.
Tony, appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. God bless. We will have you on the stream again soon. Thank you, brother.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, man, that was a great conversation. Tony Farmer, great guy. We got through some truths. We got through everything, man. He was so awesome. If you missed it, rewind it. We talked Dion. We talked everything. At the beginning of the show, we talked Joey Porter contract extensions. When we come back from break, we got some good topics. I'm going to address this whole NCAA thing that's going on. And there's a new Green Monster appearance, and I'm not talking about the wall at Red Sox at Fenway Park. So when we come back, we'll get that addressed. Brock, I'm going to ask you straight up. I'm just going to get down to business. We're going to get into it. You played with this guy for about 7-8 seasons. One of his good, closest colleagues, teammates, best friends. You know him better than anybody else. Brock, don't bullshit me. I want to know your opinion. Does Aaron Donald return this season for the Los Angeles Rams?
You just want a yes or no, or you want a percentage? Like, what are we looking at, man? What are we looking at?
Give me a percentage, and then give me why you think it, and then give me a counterclaim of, okay, this percentage is why I kind of didn't go 100%.
Mm-hmm. if I would put a percentage to it, bro, at this point, just, knowing his mindset, talking to him, I would say he's about 85 to 90% there. I would say 85 to 90%.
Ooh, y'all heard that first. Michael Brockers played next to Aaron Donald for 7 years. Two staples. I mean, these two were haunting teams. Brock, I remember watching you guys, the legendary Kansas City game. I believe that was the Monday night game.
Yeah.
I remember watching you guys light it up, watching you guys run Tex game, run Tom games, doing everything, bro. Like, for those of you guys,
they still couldn't stop.
They couldn't stop it.
Hey, that's my dad. That's my dad. That's my dad. Yeah, they gave my daddy more TV time than me.
Welcome back. If you guys miss it, we just had Tony Farmer in the studio. We got to address some really good truths. I wanted to address this next topic. I kind of waited to the end of the show because I needed to give myself some space to talk about it. This topic has really kind of bugged me. And I've told my producer, I told Bailey, I said, man, I don't know if I want to talk about it or if I want to address it, but it's just been bugging the shit out of me. So if you don't know, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals has granted the NCAA a stay of the Colorado ruling that was set to give the class of 2022 recruits a 5th year of eligibility per court documents. The injunction is now pending after the 10th Circuit's decision Friday. Class of 2022 athletes who exhausted 4 years of eligibility this past spring are now ineligible unless they have their own temporary restraining order or injunction. So, for example, 16 football players named in a Louisiana case are still eligible because they were granted a temporary restraining order. Tommy Castellanos, the quarterback, and Mitchell are also named in their own state's case. The NCAA stay of the case leaves thousands of athletes who thought they were eligible ineligible. The expectation is that more state lawsuits will be filed in the near future to combat the stay of the class action suit. So here's where I am on this. You guys saw the whole Jack Pyburn thing. We talked about it on Wednesday. I don't like it. I think what the NCAA has done is opened up a can of worms. And I'm just going to shoot you straight. If you've already been in the NFL, you've signed an NFL contract. And I've seen Drew Rosenhaus was on the McAfee show. He talked about one of his clients who's a tight end now for the Browns, possibly going back. And Drew said he thinks it's a possibility and he's confident it'll happen. Holy shit. How much of a scumbag do you have to be to sign an NFL contract and say, you know what? I'm not good enough for the NFL. They're going to cut my ass. So you take your happy ass back to college. That's the bullshit I'm just talking about. Like quarterback Tommy Castellanos that was at Florida State. He got granted a temporary injunction for a 5th year of eligibility. He could come back and play again. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like Tommy Castellanos, you didn't get drafted. You were hot ass. You didn't work out in the NFL, so now you want to come back and beat up on some college kids? Like, fuck no. Go get your ass a fucking job. Like, if you're one of those guys in the NFL that has one of these 5th year eligibilities and you've already did training camp in the NFL and you've played preseason games, you've practiced and done meetings in the NFL, and you come back to play college football for a 5th year, that's like the high school senior who was a star, who lived in his high school dreams, who did all this, and then didn't fucking amount to shit after high school, goes off and tries to live his glory days. He always comes back to high school games. He can't go get a fucking job. He can't go move to another city. He always wants to come back, wear his Letterman jacket to the high school. He wants all these people to come. That's what you are right now. If you're one of these 5th year seniors who's in the NFL right now and you're thinking about coming back to play football, stay your happy ass in the NFL. And if they cut your ass, go find a fucking job. Don't come back to college football just because you're allowed to. You've already taken the risk. Who do you think you are? I don't care. You filed a lawsuit because you think that you should come play college football again? Fuck that. That's absolute horseshit. And the NCAA, you're at fault for opening up this whole can of worms. And it's not even just this whole eligibility thing. It's this NIL. It's everything under the sun because that's what we've come to as a whole in the NCAA as a whole. We got guys suing colleges for NIL because they don't want to wear the number 5. That's the shit I'm talking about. And I won't even name names. But like, what are we really doing? The tight end for the Browns, Tommy Castellanos, Jack Pyburn. Like, Pyburn, you just had 2 sacks in your first preseason game. Now, I'm a fan. I was a fan of you at LSU, and I don't mean no LSU on LSU harm. But don't go take your happy ass back to LSU. That's horse shit. Just don't do that. That's the bullshit I'm talking about. Stay your happy ass. And like I said, if you can't cut it in the fucking league, don't take your ass back to college. Because when you finish high school and you go to fucking college or you enter the real world, you're done. You can't go back to high school and play with some kids. Go push some carts at Target. Fucking bullshitting me. Sorry, I didn't mean to rant there. Let's talk some NFL. Fernando Mendoza is finding out quickly that he has a lot of work to do as he begins his NFL career. Mendoza struggled in his preseason game. As people are like to say, he threw a meatball sub marinara sandwich with extra cheese on it. Pick 6, went for 80 yards. I think Fernando Mendoza is a good player. He's been working with Tom Brady. You can see in his mechanics, he just slings the ball effortlessly. Yeah, did he throw a meatball sub from Jersey Mike's with extra sauce on it and a side order of fucking salt and vinegar chips? Yeah, he did. He did throw a meatball sub. But you know what? Like, I can live with this dude throwing a meatball sub in a preseason game, learning from it, and he's the future. But like, my only thing for Fernando Mendoza is we got to cool it on the interviews, bro. Like, if we can just, and he's like, yeah, thank you, Mr. Buck. And yeah, I'm so grateful to be here. Like, okay, Fernando, I get it. You did your thing in college. You were grateful. God is good. God is amazing. Cool. But my big dog, we got to play quarterback now. You feel me? Like, them interviews, I get it. You're a happy man. Like, go get with Max Crosby. Go to a strip club. Like, lighten up. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thoughts on Fernando Mendoza. I think he's going to be a good player. There's been a green monster return. So, and I'm not talking about Fenway Park. This was interesting to me. Bailey, roll the tape. I don't think people know what I'm talking about. So if you didn't know, there was the green dildo made its return to the WNBA, and it was a controversy thing for some time now because obviously last year it made its first appearance, and these fans, man, they just need to stop dicking around. These fans, just stop being dicks to the woman. Homegirl Dim Sum here is trying to shoot her free throws, and the green dill pickle makes an appearance. You know what I mean? And Angel Reese is over here like she's so into it. She's pointing out the suspect. She's pointing them out. She's like, it's right there. Right. And if you watch her, she's like I haven't seen Angel Reese have this much emotion on a basketball court ever in my life. So if we can just get some respect for the woman here, like, you know what I mean? Like, Jeremy Lin can't even get her free throws in. This is crazy, man. This is insane to me, bro. Like, Bailey clipped it. Like, Bailey, what are we doing freezing it right there, man? Like, we got to be better about this, B. But the Green Monster made a return to the WNBA. The WNBA has just been a shit show. If you've been keeping up with the WNBA, they are going to be a league of its own that just cancels itself out through Carrington and her hitting Sophie Cunningham, and Sophie Cunningham voicing her opinion, and these coaches standing for what they believe in. The WNBA has just become a shit show, and this is the result of it. Like, you don't see this on an NFL football field. Like, you don't see nobody throwing dildos on an NFL football field, and so this is a product of what the WNBA has allowed. When you associate yourself with a clown of a league like you guys have been, then don't expect the results to be any different. Yeah, that's insane to me. Then they're covering it up like it's a dead body, and then she misses it, and they cover it up like that's insane to me. This is crazy, bro. Like, this is crazy, bro. Holy shit, this is crazy. But no, man, I appreciate you guys for tuning in on the Friday. God bless. I appreciate you guys for tuning in Friday, the Fehoko Show. It was a good one tonight. We had Tony Farmer in the studio. I apologize. I know I said I had an LSU national champion, Kansas City Super Bowl champion winner. We had some scheduling difficulties. My guy got delayed on a flight. He couldn't make it today. He was going to make it, but he wanted to make sure that he wasn't conflicting with time. So we'll get him on next week. But I appreciate you for tuning in. Please continue to like, share, subscribe. I thoroughly enjoy doing this for you guys. Bailey's a great producer. He enjoys putting this whole thing together. Please continue to share the content. We'll promise to keep producing, being more consistent. Head over to the FehokoShow.com. Use Fehoko25 as a code at checkout to get 25% off your merch. We love you guys. We thank you. Fehoko Show out.
Hey, that's my dad. That's my dad. That's my dad. Yeah, they gave my daddy more TV time than me.